Music Row predicted that she'll be the next big thing. Around that time, the guitar goddess became one of Fender's next artists, as well as a CMT Next Woman of Country. But Whiskey Riff thinks that Hannah is Nashville's best kept secret. Kind of like Chris Stapleton used to be. They claim that Hannah is one of the best acts that they've seen in a very long time. A true entertainer, she has amassed 1.5 million followers on TikTok and is killing it on many other platforms as well. Preserving the best of that traditional old country that we all love and putting her own new flair on. Hannahdasher feels like the big piece of the puzzle that we've been missing in Nashville for quite some time. She recently released her new album titled The Other Damn Half, and she's gearing up for her second headlining tour. Here is Hannahdasher. When I heard your music, I was like, wow, you have the almost 90s country feel, and then you have this rockin' like Cadillac 3 vibe, and you put those two things together, and to me it was like, this isn't too far left or right of center to be able to really kill it. And so in reading about you and what some of the publications have said about you and your music, I think they're spot on, and that you are kind of Nashville's best kept secret, as it was like Stapleton before he really hit it big. So I feel honored to be sitting here with you before...
It's gonna make me cry. Lord, it's got a spray tan. Stop.
No, before I can't access you, before I have to talk to 20 people to talk to you. So
Lord.
It's an honor to have you today.
Well, Stephan, that means the world to me. I appreciate that. And I owe it to the Cadillac 3 they're the first to really, the only to really take me out on tour with them for a consecutive string of shows, and, and made my first record with Jaron Johnston. And he gave me my first electric guitar. He's like, here, I think you got the chops, sister. I've seen you play. I know you can do it. Learn it. Anyway, and that's all that it took. And so I owe a lot to them. And then a lot to 90s country radio that I grew up on. I mean, I think we're all melting pots of what we love. And what comes out is the unique thing that is you.
Yeah. And you are the unique thing. You are the first you, which is great because we could both attest to a lot of people here in town. Oof. Where they come here and they try to be the next Luke Combs or whatever it may be, and it's like, you're never going to be better than Luke Combs, so don't try to be the next Luke Combs, be the first you.
Are you there? Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit 2 wasn't quite as good as the first one, was it?
That's right. That's exactly right.
But Clint Black had a lot of similarities to Merle Haggard in his voice, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Sammy Kershaw had that George Jones thing, and Faith Hill had that Tammy thing or whatever, and I don't know. I think there's like Zach Top's got that Keith Whitley vibe going, and that I think we kind of need to carry the torch forward on some things. Not to play devil's advocate, but I think that can be done correctly, and it can really have a powerful impact.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah, because we're always building. Like as musicians, you're a player, you're a Fender artist, and
building's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and we all listen to those, or if we're players, we learned from certain guitar players growing up, and then we put them all together, and it creates, like you said, that melting pot. So
yeah, Tom Petty, he's like, his voice is such a melting pot. Like I hear that Laurel Canyon 12-string Byrds influence, and then I hear Dylan, and then there's just how he sounds when he opens his mouth, his Gainesville, Florida accent. It's like, whoa. And nobody can replicate that ever.
Nope. So I haven't seen you live yet. I was talking to your management, and I was like, hey, I really want to see Hannah before, but it just didn't line up. But you're out. You're doing dates with Blackberry Smoke.
Yes, I've got another one with them coming up. They're my favorite live band that's out there, my favorite band out there right now. I just, we're a little old school and rock and roll in that I'm one of the few country acts that's not traveling with tracks, and everything you hear on stage is everything that's being played live, basically. There's nothing fake about the show. And they're rock and roll in that way too. It's just they sound exactly like the record, and Charlie Starr's my guitar hero. He's probably my favorite guitar player alive, and that whole record is, I think it's like, is it still number one in the country right now? I know that was like number one on Apple for several weeks.
I believe it. I remember hearing them 6 years ago and being like, wow, this is something.
Yeah. If I could sound like anybody besides what we sound like, I call my band Mini Pearl Jam, by the way.
Oh, that's cool.
But I was like, man, my dream sound would be like blackberry smoke with a pedal steel, kind of a thing, just because where his voice sits is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Same range. But yeah, go check them out if y'all hadn't seen them live. They're insane. And come to that show if you get a wild hair or something.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, it's south, right?
It is east. It's at the Shed, and it's sold out, but we got you. So it's at East Tennessee, near Knoxville in the Shed. It's be a fun little weekend, little getaway.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because I really want to see you live. Because I have a feeling, like, I love the Cadillac 3 live. I've seen them live a lot of times, and I love Jaron's just wild stage presence, and I feel like you would have something similar going on. I could be wrong, and I've watched your music videos and the stuff you did with Fender, and I was like, man, I think that Hannah live would be a pretty fun person to watch.
Yeah, to see me live is to really get it, and that's honestly why I'm doing a live album this year. We can talk about that in a little bit, but going out on the road with the Cadillac 3 will make an entertainer of you. And the best thing those guys ever could have done for me was to have me open for them, and I did it acoustically. To have to go out and front a rock and roll band, or open for a band like that with that kind of energy with just you and an acoustic guitar will really make an entertainer out of you. And it was the best way, I think, for me to be thrown into it. And so I owe them the world for that. And because it really just comes down to you and the audience and holding their attention. And hell, if your songs aren't doing it and you aren't doing it, what are you doing? You know. So, but yeah, come see us live. I'm liable to set my hair on fire, and I mean, it's just fun. And I love my band, and there's never a dull moment. But we're making couple changes to the set this year. It's gonna be fun.
Cool.
It's the I Don't Want to Be an Outlaw tour. So.
Sweet.
The Steel Woods took me out.
I had no clue, by the way, about the Cadillac 3 thing. I didn't know that at all.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were saying, sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. Jaron produced my first record, and he and I disagreed on the steel guitar. I really, really wanted pedal steel, and he's like, this whole Southern rock thing is out. That's not in style, and 90s country. The label was like, 90s country's out, and I was like, hell no, 90s country is coming back. And I said, and even if it ain't, it's true to me, and I feel like people just want what's real, So I really fought to have that, to have some pedal steel, and I love what the Cadillac 3 does, but I think that's kind of untouchable. I think that's them and uniquely them, and but you can't come to a Hannah show without a little rock and roll and without a lot of honky tonk.
That's what I like to hear. Let's go back to the opening acoustic, because I believe that songs should be able to be played just acoustic.
Yeah. I've been an ASCAP writer forever, and they were integral in helping me get, both my publishing deals. And that's something that I remember they said early on was a song should be able to stand alone. Doesn't matter who's singing it, but lyrically, melodically, just you and a guitar. If you can start with that, and you've got something great. Mm-hmm. So.
And you'll see it on like the John Mayer acoustic tour. He's doing a whole tour acoustic because his songs are that good.
Yeah.
As I was listening to your music, I was like, each one of these songs is a single. And I'm not just saying that. Lyrically, they're all phenomenal. And I want to know, in your writing process, do you prefer to co-write, or do you love to do a lot of thinking outside of writes to tweak things and not rush songs? What's your approach?
I definitely don't rush songs. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes they always fall out of the left side of the sky. You have to work for them, but sometimes they happen quickly, and you just kind of ride that wave and let it be. I enjoy co-writing because I think two heads are better than one. I wish that I did more solo writing. When I do, like the I Don't Want to Be an Outlaw tour, it was named after a song that I've written. And I started that one and brought a big chunk of that to Jake Mitchell. anyhow, but again, I'm never really. I mean, I don't always come up with the best ideas. I mean, I feel like I've been in town for so long, I've kind of used up my ideas. So, but if you give me a killer idea, then it's off to the races. We'll write it right there. So that's kind of the process. I think it just happens simultaneously.
Yeah. For songwriters, there is a level of ideas that are always kind of on the back burner. But if you're writing all the time, it's real easy to get depleted. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But, I try to keep it fresh. I don't listen to, I listen to things that are really outside of the box. Like this week, I'm going to listen to a band called Rattlesnake Milk. And, I just, and I listen to a lot of older stuff. I've been listening to the Strays, Red Clay Strays, for a while. I'm glad the world's catching on to them. But yeah, I like to, go deep catalog and just try to keep my pool fresh. Try to go to see a movie when I can, and I need to start reading a lot more. I think Travis Meadows that's how he stays so fresh. He reads a lot, so which is hard to do when when you're an influencer and entertainer, songwriter.
Yeah, there's a lot of things pulling you all kinds of ways.
TikTok,
Audible is the best. Yes, you need to get into Audible. That's it.
The orange app.
The orange app.
Yes,
you can buy them through Amazon and listen to them just like a podcast.
What are you reading that you love? What have you been, or what can you
That's
recommend?
a great question. I'm very into entrepreneurship, and I'm into, one of my favorite books ever is called Think and Grow Rich. It's a bestseller. It was written by a guy named Napoleon Hill, and he was mentored by Andrew Carnegie of Carnegie Steel. And it talks about the principles of success. So he basically went around and he interviewed all these successful people to see what are the commonalities, what's the thread. And so the book talks about it. And one of my favorite quotes is, what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve.
I love that.
Yeah. And so books along that. And then I'm reading one right now while listening to a couple on burnout and how to avoid burnout as a creative person. And so there's things where I'm like, man, I feel like I need a tune-up. I'm going to go do some research online and see what book I could listen to.
I love that. You have to text me those titles later. I think that'd be really good. I don't spend enough time by myself in a vehicle or really at the house with my phone on silent. I hear my phone going off right now. But I just think I need to be more deliberate as a creator about setting aside that kind of time just to recharge and to soak in and learn, because we put so much out. I think that's really smart of you to.
Yeah, it's good. And I heard a quote, and this is not in any way, shape, or form, because you do read and you want to, but the quote is, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And I thought that was interesting.
It's profound.
It is profound. And I did an interview with Rob Floyd. He's a guy from Bar Rescue, the TV show, and he talked about he tries to read a book a week. And I was like, dang, you got me, man. But he's so articulate and so smart, and he's such a global thinker. And I attribute a lot of that, and I think he does as well, to reading.
I've got to do better about that. I hated to read as a child. I was in high reading classes, but I wasn't. I wasn't slow. I don't mean to say like I was. Whatever. I hated to read, but I would read my cassette tape and CD covers front to back. I'd read the lyrics, and I think I've mentioned before in interviews, like I was that nerdy kid who knew who Keith Stegall was, but that's how I discovered Alan Jackson was a triple threat, that he was from Georgia like me, and I was just really into his songs and his lyrics, and it was just so conversational and really made me, it set the bar high for me. I didn't set out to be a songwriter initially, but tried my hand at it when my parents went through a divorce when I was in college, and I had to kind of get that whirlwind of emotion out somehow, and so I put pen to paper and had my guitar in hand, and that's how I expressed myself and discovered that I had a knack for it. And but yeah, you can get jaded if you do it too often or under a machine. So I like the freedom of creating.
Let's talk about freedom, because you have a lot of it. You're currently an independent artist, and I would love for you to explain what that means to listeners that are like, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
Well, freedom, I believe you just said it. For years, if you had a major record deal and lost it, there's a scarlet letter attached to that around Nashville. But the bomb has been dropped, as you said earlier, and the game is changing. Guys like your Zach Bryan, your Tyler Childers, Sturgill, Margot, Sierra Farrell, Strays, I mentioned them, 49 Winchester, they're all changing that game. And Childers is arguably an incredible songwriter. Jason Isbell, for Pete's sake.
They are the
also
best. Some of the best.
Oh, yeah. Isbell's one of my favorite songwriters. I got to be careful, too, with my free-speaking mouth, too, because, I love everybody, but I know he started following me online. He's watching my stories a little bit. Hey, Jason, I heard you're single now. Anyway.
Ooh, yeah. Shout out to Jason.
Whoa. Anyhow, but I think that the game is changing, and radio and, honestly, great things can live forever, but I think the world is tired of getting force-fed stuff, and it's pretty apparent. Every meet and greet or line that I stand in to meet fans and receive them, it's the same thing every night. It's like, well, why weren't you opening up for John Party? Or like, why weren't you da-da-da? Like, why were they force-feeding us this act? Like, we want to hear you. We don't want this. We're not listening to this on the highway. We don't listen to the highway anymore. Or we're not watching award shows anymore, which, by the way, have you seen the ratings?
I stopped watching them.
They've gone down by the millions.
I stopped listening to country radio.
Yes, I like in 2022, the CMA Awards, I think it was like 9-point-something million viewers. And last year it was at 7 million. In the 90s, it was at like, I want to say like 80-something million views.
Wow.
It was significantly different. But all that to say, I don't want to harp on the negative as much as the freedom of being able to create without boundaries, and it's hard to confine me to just one genre, because I love rock and roll. I love soul music. I go to a black gospel church. I love all kinds of country music, and you're going to get a little taste of some of that in my live show, and I just think people like what's real and what's really you. And Rick Rubin, I think, can speak to that or has spoken to that. And
yeah.
I just think people will buy into what's not what's processed, but what's genuine.
Yeah. Think about the music first. The last thing you should think about in creativity and making music is the people, because they don't know what they want. And like you said, people are force-fed music through the radio, which is kind of country on radio.
And TV shows.
Yeah, and TV shows, and even what to listen to on Spotify playlists, etc. We could go all day. But true artistry and the person that comes along that's unique, that drops the bomb, is the one that people really catch on to, which I think, at the end of the day, the great ones stand the test of time. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not an overnight thing for any act like that, like your Stapleton or your Eric Church, or it's definitely, I think it's one on the road. Honestly, it takes a lot of money to do this for a living, and it's really expensive. If you're one of those like diamonds in the rough that's hiding over there in a bush, it takes somebody big to come along and pull you out of that bush and say, "Hey, world, here's this great diamond in the rough." Or it takes a lot of money to be able to gain that exposure. And but I'm grateful to the internet, and I'm grateful to TikTok. Even I don't consider myself an artist that broke on TikTok, but it was a great app for me to showcase myself at a time when my label was just letting me collect dust there on a shelf, and to really showcase my personality. And I think a great artist can be a representative of the genre, not just an artist, but like your Reba McEntire, like she's an actress. She's on The Voice. She's she's been on Broadway. She's kind of done it all. Blake Shelton kind of does it all. And, I would love to be on SNL for Pete's sakes. Like, I just, I'd like to co-host shows and do that kind of stuff too.
I love that. Where did that drive come from?
I grew up with a lot of really pretty girls. And I've always been heavy and overweight, and so I had to learn how to be the funny one and how to capture the attention of a room. And I think that's all by God's design. But I'm a ham, for Pete's sake, and I love the camera. And I just believe I was put here to help leave people in a better place than I found them. And it's kind of why we're all here at the end of the day, I think. But anyway, let's not hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but you know what I mean. I just think that's where that came from. But, if I could play basketball, I'd be in the NBA. That's not what I do well. And I think the most successful people are the most self-aware. So I'm aware of my strengths. And so I'm not going to have a choreographed show with the whole dance team. That ain't me, but I'll try to sling a solo here and there on a guitar. And I'll try to empower the girl sitting there who might be trying to tinker on one herself at home, or a guy. And I'm not the best guitar player in the world, but shit, if you're going to hold something, do something with it. If you're going to hold the thing, do something with it.
Come on. Yeah, less is more in solos, too,
Tasty. Oh, my God, yes, please. Be tasteful. Like making love to a woman,
Yeah. Oh.
Be tasty with it.
I like that sound bite.
Jimmy Page.
Yeah, Vince says it's the notes that you don't play. Because as guitar players, we all want to just sit down, and you'll see this at any guitar center you go into, but everybody's playing as many notes as they can as possible. But it's what's going to pull at the heart and make you feel something.
Absolutely. When I have shopped for, I've got a new guy coming over full-time, play lead guitar. I'm really excited about him. But, when I was looking at his pages, that's one of the first things I look for besides tone. But it's, how tastefully is he playing those parts? And like Leroy Parnell, I think, is really underappreciated. And a lot of folks don't know that he grew up with the Allman Brothers. Like, they kind of took him under his wing. And that's some great 90s country music there. But Charlie Starr, again, one of the most tasteful. And Charlie's playing all over people's records, like Stapleton and Brent Cobb and tons of people. Jason Isbell, wow. What a guitar player. I just need to lock myself away in woodshed. I'll never be that. But again, I want you to be entertained when you come to my show.
Yeah, I love that. So in terms of the independent lifestyle and the money side, how did you go from the musician, the acoustic, to being able to make this thing happen and have a band? Because everybody in Nashville that's a musician wants to make money, and that's why they're here. They want to do what they love and make money doing it. But it's hard to do that for a lot of people. That's why they end up on Broadway. But your band, I'm assuming, pay them, right?
Yeah.
And you got expenses. Like you said, it's very expensive.
A lot of overhead.
So to get to where you are in your journey and being on the road and getting out and playing a lot, can you take me back to where you really started performing and then how you got, because you said the Jaron thing and the acoustic thing and opening up, but I'm curious about, I feel like you dug it out of the playing live. This is a very long thing I'm saying.
No, this is a great
I feel
question.
like you dug it out of live playing that built confidence somehow, somewhere. And what that did was give you the ability to be where you are. And you said, I'm not a TikTok discovered artist, which I think is paramount to this conversation, because a lot of people get signed off TikTok. And they may just have a song that went viral and the label was like, oh, we're going to sign them.
That's what I call luck. That's not what I call artistry.
Yeah. So talk about that.
Great question. It's very expensive to do this for a living. So, like my first band show, if you will, was with the Cadillac 3, and it was a big show. It was at the Georgia Theater. It was a big weekend, and I didn't have the money that I really, really needed to rehearse the band enough, but because I couldn't afford to do it. So in doing those dates with those guys, I wanted to bring a band I was writing, I still write for Sony, but publishing deals don't pay a lot, as you know. So I started cleaning houses on the side. I started scrubbing people's toilets. I'd leave my rights with Lainey Wilson and all these people, and they'd get in their, brand new vehicles, and they'll go to their houses, their nice 2-story houses that their parents had bought for them to live in, and they tour in their 4-door. She had a really nice 4-door truck and a really great trailer that her parents were really sweet that got her, and I would leave and go. I had sold all my guitars to help pay my band, and I'd go scrub toilets when I'd leave a write at Sony or something, and but I think that my story made her more appreciative, and and my other friends, and I prayed for a long time not to be resentful to my parents, and I had to get over that. I wasn't resentful of other people, but I was resentful of my parents for not helping me when they couldn't afford to. But I thank them now, because it really made a survivor out of me, and it's really made me resourceful. But it's been tough having to do it the hard way. But it's also been humbling, and I think that's some humbling that I needed. And I started playing just on my acoustic in college down in Athens, Georgia, which was predominantly a rock and roll town. It's REM and a lot of indie, a bunch of bands with goofy names like East Nashville, like the Cherry Caskets or whatever. I made that up, but you know what I mean? That kind of an indie rocky vibe.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a good opportunity for me to pull in the country music fan crowd, because I wasn't singing chick songs. I was going to cover some Joe Diffie and Shenandoah and throw a couple of mine in there too. And so that was good for me to kind of work those chops out. But yeah, the Cadillac 3 thing, that's really what started it for me. And again, I wish that I'd have known, I don't know, I wish that I would have started shopping for an investor or something back then. I think I was too proud to ask for money, but it really would have helped me out a lot more. But here we are. Nothing's born overnight, and I can't walk through an airport without taking a picture with somebody. And if that's all that ever happens, I'm grateful. But I'm really excited for the climb that I'm seeing. It's like when I finally became okay with being independent, and I'm proud to be independent. I had a hard time when I lost my record deal, because I wasn't expecting it. I thought it's the last thing that's going to happen, But when they pulled the plug, right after I had my first release out, I had 500,000 listeners a month on Spotify, which is where Zach Top is right now. And at the time, they thought, well, you've got 1 million followers on TikTok. You're not getting 100% engagement. That's not good enough. And I thought, damn, maybe I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough. And that kind of beat me down for a couple of years. But I was like, fuck it. I am good enough. I could go on my own tour. And I did. I took myself on I had a fan donate an F-350 flatbed truck. And I started crashing the shows of the tours that I wanted to be on, and I called it the You're Gonna Love Me Tailgate Tour. And I started playing in parking lots like John Party shows, Eric Church, Brothers Osborne. Anyhow, and I took myself on my own tour. I'm the hell with waiting around for something to happen. You got to make it for yourself. Anyhow, but I sold merch and stuff, and I made money. And thought, okay, there's a way to do this. My buddies, Muscadine Bloodline, I think, have written the book on being successful independent acts in the country world. I mean, they're brilliant, and their streaming strategy is great. I've never had streaming strategy. Anyway, but I look up to guys like that, and have somehow been able to make it work. And thanks to my online platform, and I'm able to have my own headlining tour, and I employ 5 or 6 other people now. And I mean, I don't go shop at Prada, but I wouldn't do it anyway if I could. But I can pay my bills, and we could put fuel in a bus. And thank you, Jesus, that it takes a village, but thank you that I'm able to at least do that,
Yeah. I almost think it's good that you didn't have an investor. Do you feel like you should have had one?
Oh,
because you would
not to be entitled, indebted. But 100%. Well, that's
because a lot of people go that way, but I feel like investors want the return on investment as fast as possible. So there would be this pressure constantly for you as an artist.
Well, that's a great point. I actually had some dear friends while I was at the label sitting in purgatory gift me $50,000. And with that money, I mean, I used it for tour support, but I went in and I recorded some music and brought it to the label, and they're like, oh. And so it kind of it built a fire under their butt, and then we went ahead and we cut the half record, and it was what it took to really get their attention, if you will, to say, okay, we've got something here. And and I tried to amp my TikTok up. I cooked a lot of stuff and sang a lot of stuff, but that boost helped me. $50,000 doesn't go very far though, and you know how expensive it is. I mean, and I've got a fan that's donated, like a bus for me to use. I mean, it's expensive to travel with a bus. You've got driver and fuel and things like that. But hell, I spent $30,000 last year on hotels, so I'm saving that much as well.
Yeah.
Not to ramble, sorry.
No, I love it. And it's really interesting to me that you had to go pay for your own recordings while you had a deal. So this is the thing that I think people need to hear. There's so many big fish in small ponds throughout the world, throughout the United States. And maybe they're great, maybe they're not. And I don't know if you felt this way before moving to Nashville, but the idea of a record deal was like, oh, if I can just get a record deal, then it's going to be this straight line to stardom.
Right.
Did you feel that way ever before signing that document, the dotted line that like, oh, this is the thing that's going to launch my career 100%?
Yes and no. I knew that it always came down to the song and the songs, rather. But because that was in the back of my mind, it almost put up this barrier wall to my creativity. There was so much pressure. There was so much pressure from the label to get the song. Like, like they wanted me to have a song that popped off on spins, that popped off on, that went viral online and all. And I was like, dang, like, y'all didn't hold Eric Church to this kind of standard. You didn't hold John Parr to this kind of standard. I'm like, quit waiting to put me out on tour with somebody until I have a song that pops off. Like, you signed me because I had great songs. Go ahead and put me on the road. Like, help me build ticket sales. Help me put, because I'm going to put asses in seats. That's where I'm going to win. And they were trying to shoot me down, I think, the same assembly line that they had some previous artists and that had not worked as far as sending them to radio tour and putting them out on major tours. That didn't work for some acts. That 100% would have worked for me. But I never got to meet the radio staff. And they never sent me out on a tour. And hell, I was at the same label with Brad Paisley, and he had cut one of my songs that I was singing with him, and that would have made a lot of sense, and me playing a little bit of Telecaster would have made a hell of a lot of sense, I think, to go out and do that.
Great support.
Yes. Like a Rachel Womack, no, that wouldn't have made a lot of sense. But and I love her, what a great voice. But again, potato, tomato, you got two different acts. So, I don't know if that answered your question a little bit.
Yeah, no, you did. You did. I mean, the reality was you signed the record deal, and
it comes down to the song.
They use
Correct.
but there's another part to that, and I'm a deep believer in the psychology of music, which is this: we all have heard a song before, and the first time we heard it, we didn't like it, and the second time we were like unsure, and by listening 5 to 10. We were like, this song
singing it in the
rips.
bed. I'm singing it in the shower.
This song rips. People don't know what they want. Like what they're told to like, and the psychology of music is repetition. And so what you hear on the radio, you're going to end up liking. It's inevitable. And so to me, when we talk about program directors and getting songs on radio and playlists and all of that, it's very much so a fiscal decision to make songs pop off. And sometimes, the song takes off on its own, etc. But really, a lot of it, there's a lot of hit songs that aren't great songs.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of artists that have that have had number one songs that can't put butts in seats, that are playing the same size room that I'm playing with no radio play. So I'm with you there, 100%.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to hate on the industry, because I'm talking with industry people, but like Craig Campbell's independent now, and he said he's never been happier in his life because he can post what he wants when he wants. He can release music when he wants.
He's killing it online too. He's killing it.
Yeah, and I really believe what you said at the beginning about people kind of taking the control back of their careers is going to change music as a whole moving forward. And let's talk a little about how hard it is to make money if you were to have a record deal and you were to go out and you had to split that merch money. Like, who's getting rich? Is it the artist or is it the record label?
Well, it's the streaming services and the labels. I think they've got a little thing going on together that, you know, puts money in pockets. Yeah, when I was in music business school, they were like, don't ever sign a 360 deal, but that's basically the only deal you can get now.
That's it.
Literally.
Describe what that is.
A 360 deal, so 360 like circle kind of covers, you know, it's basically the label takes a portion of everything. Whereas in the early years, they would negotiate, artists would keep all their merch and artists would get to keep. But, merch is how an artist really does make their money. And ticket sales and all, and a label should never have a portion of that. But now, because people don't buy hard copy CDs anymore, and because, I hate to say radio is dying, but terrestrial radio is, kind of...
It's in a decline.
Yeah, it's got a lot of competition with XM and things like that, so, and streaming services. So they've got to replenish that bank somehow. For me, I've never really had management. I've had friends that have helped me under the name manager, but friends that weren't necessarily qualified. Like the producer that I was working with at the label, very talented guy, but for 5 songs, I found out after the fact, it was he charged me $138,000 for 5 songs, and that the girl that was managing me and the label should have caught that instead of just writing the check. I mean, a brand new artist can never recoup that after royalties and all. And so I'm just now starting to get royalty checks in the mail. Thank God. I mean, I've got a couple cuts from people and all that helps.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's hard to that was it's unless you've got somebody watching it that's a strong manager that's, managing the right things. It's hard to catch all that. But yeah, a label they're sneaky.
You feel like
nobody's... I don't hate them.
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
And there's a place for them.
True, but it's a dating game, not to interrupt you. But,
yeah.
I have nothing but love for, like the team that I left. Again, my A&R, the girl that was kind of over me, I met her when she moved to town. She had no idea who Tammy Wynette was. And that's shocking if you know me, because here I am trying to carry the torch forward and build upon that classic thing. But again, it's a dating game. She does well with like the Mitchell Tenpennies and the Maren Morrises and the other folks that were on the label. But then here was the bone-in ribeye on the vegan buffet, and that was me over there on that roster. And with the exception of Luke Combs, obviously early country, but I just don't think that they knew that they saw talent, they got excited about it, but they didn't know what to do with it. And it was just under quarantine. I didn't get the vaccine. My doctor advised me against it because of an autoimmune disease that I've got. Anyway, but, they wouldn't come to the house to just listen to some songs, just for me to literally sit and play them some songs like Crying All the Way to the Bank, which I know is a hit. Anyhow, so it was just unfortunate, but I think it's what all needed to happen. It's been tough. But I'm really, really grateful to have the freedom that I've got now, and I feel the championship. I just like the fans they're really on my side, and when I win you over, like my fans are with me for life. Like, and you can't buy that.
That reminds me of the Garth Brooks story when he stood there for like 24 hours at the meet and greet line, hanging with everybody that wanted a picture until it was over.
Well, Taylor Swift did it too. Hell yeah. Why not? I mean, hell yeah.
They are the ones.
Yeah.
Without them, there is no career. So that's cool that you have that understanding, because a lot of people don't.
Well, Garth, something that I heard that he did early on too was like when he'd go on radio tour, like he kept distinct notes about the DJs and the people that he was talking to, and I try to remember faces and names, and like they say, Garth would know that. Oh yeah, man, how was your son's volleyball game last week, or da da da, and just like. Yes, you're the artist, but we are nobody without those gatekeepers. And if it weren't for relationships that I've made in the media, because I can't afford a publicist, really, I mean, that's expensive. But those relationships with media is what got me to C2C in London. And I mean, where I'm on the front cover of whatever that country magazine is last month, and all the press that I got. I mean, who knew? It was just that. It was literally just because I struck up a relationship, because I remembered someone's name in an interview as where that came from.
And it wasn't just that magazine. There was multiple publications.
Yeah.
This last month.
Yeah, from C2C. So apparently we had the largest audience outside of the arena. I didn't play the big arena. I played one of the other big stages, but we did the largest crowd that weekend outside of the arena. I had no idea, but it's, people over there, they like what they like, not what they're told to like. And, they're big Eric Church fans, and they're, they like lyrics. And I was like, whoa, this is great. So now I'm trying to rob a bank so I can get back over there ASAP and shopping some agents over there.
I really think that going overseas is it's a great move and a huge move for people, because I think that country music is really well accepted in Europe, And
it's country music is new over there almost too. It's like it hasn't always been a thing. But they're hungry for great music and
great music.
Yeah, yeah. And genres aren't really a thing over there, which I think is really interesting. Like radio stations play all kinds of music. It's not just one. So you ask somebody what kind of music they listen to, they'll tell you artist names. They don't say I listen to country or I listen to R&B. They say I just listen to these artists.
Yeah. Tell me about your nonprofit.
Caricators. It's based just outside of Dallas, Texas, a town called Ennis. But my girlfriend, Kara, who I know through the John Party Camp, she's just awesome, recognized how many kids were going home hungry on the weekends. So it's kind of like the backpack program, only our mission is, because we don't want to embarrass the kids by having to, go leave early and go to the principal's office to get a book bag. So the goal is covered dish meals delivered to the house. So they get a hot meal, or they get the ingredients to be able to prepare a meal. And local churches are donating, and a lot of businesses. I mean, she's just been able to, to build this thing from the ground up. And anyway, we're feeding. I need to go look at the stats, but how many schools? I think she's over 1,000 kids right now. It's got to be bigger than that we're feeding. Because think about it, when a kid goes home, like for school, or for summer break, they're not eating good if they're, lower income. And there's some homeless kids in the community too that we're feeding with Caricators. So these kids are now getting fed through the summertime and through Christmas break and things like that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
it's
really,
tough. Can you
really
imagine
cool.
being hungry? Man, that breaks my heart. But yeah.
But you saw a problem. You guys saw a problem, and you're creating a solution.
Well, Kara came to me. She's like, I need an ambassador. And I'm like, girl, I'm here. I want to help feed youngins. And what I'd like to do when I get some time off is I want to have some classes that I want to teach some of these, like the fifth graders. I'd like to teach them how to boil water so they can cook ramen, or how to you can make a chicken casserole with, all you got is canned chicken and cream of chicken and a stick of butter and a thing of crackers. You can, and a little garlic powder too. Who are we kidding? But just a few ingredients, you can make home cooked meals, and you can learn to cook. I was 10 years old when I learned to cook, and thank God my my mother was a school teacher and had the summers off, so she required my sister and I to learn. By the time we graduated, we could fend for ourselves. And I think cooking's a dying art too, just like the steel guitar was till a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just teaching them life skills, how to cook for themselves.
If someone wanted to donate or get involved in helping that,
go to caracators.com and
that's
everything's
Cara with
there.
a C.
That's Cara with a C. Yes, Cara with a C. C-A-R-A, Caracators.
And then you're headed down to...
Thank you for asking about that.
Oh, yeah. That was important.
You're the first person to ever ask me about it.
Oh, shoot. Well, I'm glad because I believe in, like I think you said at the beginning, helping people, engaging with people, like that's the goal.
Yeah, by all means. Well, people think you got to go to Mexico or to the Philippines to do mission work, but there's a mission field right here around your house.
Preach. You're also headed to Texas for some shows.
Yes. We just did Georgetown. That was so fun. I think I saw the Whiskey Riff and the Saving Country Music articles that they've been posting this week about me crashing the stage with Zach Top. We were supposed to do I'm No Stranger to the Rain, but the rain was coming, so we had to cut the set short. So I just came out there and crashed Ernest and Zach during that Keith Whitley tribute. And man, I just love singing with that boy. So talented. But I'm tickled to get to. We got Lubbock and Waco. I'm going to do a date with Travis Tritt or two, also in Texas. And Hockley, Texas. Where is Hockley, Texas? I don't know. But yeah, going to Texas radio this year too. Why not?
I think Texas is doing it right. I think they've been doing it right for a long time. And I didn't know this until my first trip to Texas when I found out that they actually don't want covers. And a lot of the music joints, they want original music.
Oh, it insults them almost. They're like, don't give us the shit we've heard. Let us hear what you got to say.
Yeah. And it's like that is how I feel like music used to be, maybe, where we want to hear your songs. Or I think of like LA because, we're from Cali and the Sunset Strip. We look at Cody Johnson. Now that's someone that did it right. He's making crazy money, doesn't need to sign a record deal, and by the time he does sign a record deal...
It's the biggest in history.
It's the biggest in history. He can get whatever he wants. And so that's the way to do it. So do you ever see yourself down the road independently growing to a point where you're like, I have so much clout negotiating power, I may consider this record deal thing?
Well, I think you're reading my mail, but that's really the goal. I was inspired by, I literally was on the phone with Aaron Watson before I got here. He's a mentor of mine, and talk about somebody that has built his own empire his own way, but and he helped Kojo along the way too. And I really respect what Cody and those guys have done, and Aaron has been such an encourager to me the last few years, and just to say, hey, I believe in what you're doing. You've got this. Like, if I can have a career, then hannahdasher can sure as hell have a career, and she can make a killing doing it. Anyway, so I think Texas is a great place, just to not just because they embrace original music, but they just. I think they're old school in a way. It's not just this phone swiping attention span that we've got to. You know what I mean? I think they're still listening to lyrics and it's not just Texas; it's all over. There are people that are that way, and those are the fans that I'm going to reach. That are going to love what I do, and yeah.
Would you say that the majority of people across the states in the United States want original music, want to hear more organic artistry?
Yes, you're always going to have the. God, I don't want to get myself in trouble by I don't know how else I don't know how else to describe it, but there's a place for you. You're going to have your top 40 fans. You're going to have your fans that like the Chase Bryant and Priscilla Block kind of. You're going to have the top 40 fans, and if I could do that and do it well, I would do it. But that's not really who I am. And then you're going to have your fans that like the drive-by truckers and the Jason Isbells and the Tyler Childers and the Eric Churches, if you will, that are going to be into discovering their own stuff that listen because of what the lyrics are really having to say. I think there's music out there for everybody. And I think that in my little bit of experience touring, because I'm still a new act touring, think about it, because...
A new act.
Well, I've been around for a long time, but I mean, I've only started, I didn't start playing shows until 2017 or 18 with like Cadillac, and then the world shut down for 2 years, so I couldn't tour. So I didn't start back to 2021 or...
You mentioned something earlier about when you were with your friend group, you were the one that was bubbly and vivacious, and you hung out with all these pretty girls. But you've also been on a journey of your own, and you were on, I believe it was Rachel Ray.
Yeah, I've been on Rachel Ray a couple times. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I love it. Well, I had to start making a little bit of money to get where I could afford to look a little better. But thanks to Wilson and Mevin Wilson is a trainer that I met while I was working at the label. While I was at the label, he was training those FGL guys at the time, and struck a friendship with him. And he's launched a lifestyle brand and a company. It's called Grit and Hustle, and it's like a meal plan. And but he's literally the first trainer that I've worked out with that I've actually seen results. Like I was like, Wilson, can you give me Sheryl Crow arms? And in 2 months, I had those cut. I had my cuts from I had my guitar arms.
That's awesome.
Anyhow, but he's very encouraging, and it's been so inspiring to see real results, and trying to get that last like 10, 15 pounds off was really tough. And now that I'm doing TV stuff, I'm trying to get another 10 off just so that I don't look like a moose. And so my girls at Vitality Health and Wellness in Waycross, Georgia, have been really, really helpful in, like the B12 shots and the Bella Decaf stuff that, kind of helps. It curbs my appetite just a little bit, which helps because, my God, as much weed as I smoke, I got to have something. So, but again, I'm just so grateful that, that my platform has enabled me to have relationships with these people that, that helps me look the part and have the body that I've always wanted to have. And, I'm grateful. It's, I've always been thick-thighed, but now I've got a thigh gap. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm working towards a thigh gap. I keep telling my wife I want a thigh gap. I don't. Do guys have thigh gaps? Are they supposed to have thigh gaps?
Well, some of them do, but I don't know. Like Charlie Crockett doesn't have a thigh gap, and it ain't hurting him. Zach Top either. Those thick thighs are pretty.
Okay, that's good. That's encouraging. You're speaking my love language right now, because my love language is words of affirmation. So
I love that.
Now that I know.
Well, you look great.
Well, thank you.
I complimented your salt and pepper thing earlier, honey.
I'm wearing a big shirt. That's what helps.
I think you look great. But I mean, I just think we're all uniquely made, and I'm not trying to say I'm the ugly duckling, but I've had to grow into my looks. But I just think that.
Well, here's what I found. I want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Some of the most quote unquote gorgeous people out there are also some of the most insecure
and boring.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know about the boring part, but I know about the insecurity part, and it drives them to want to look a certain way. And we all have our own insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
And, we always see the Instagram post and the perfect TikTok, but you like her making sure your body looks good in the right way, in the right angles. My wife's real into this view.
Haley knows.
She knows. But I think it's important to say a couple things. You said that this gentleman, I forget, what was his name, your trainer? Wilson. So he was the first person you worked with that had results, which means in the past...
I worked with many people.
You had worked with many people. So you had a goal because inside you were feeling a certain way about your body and your body image, right?
Yeah.
What was the feeling?
Well, eventually, if you don't like what you're seeing on camera, it ain't the cameraman's fault. And when I was making so many TikTok videos and all, I thought, God, I mean, there weren't any cruel comments, but I was just like, okay, I want to look hot or naked. And I knew that I had the whatever to do it. Anyhow, and he reached out to me. He's like, let me train you. Let's do this thing. I'm like, hell yeah, Wilson, let's do it. And because a lot of times you can only motivate yourself so much. You got to change it up. And I knew weight training is really where it was. And I wasn't eating enough carbs. And so he and, Casey helped me like learn how to count macros. And so, yeah, all that's great. But I wanted to feel good. And I hate to say sex sells, but, the better you feel, the better you perform. And I also wanted to be able to inspire people just to be healthier.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to stop on, because I believe that there's a culture of celebrating people being unhealthy. And I saw it in Target. I don't remember when, but I was like, statistically, probably that's your average American. But the advertisements were now people that would be considered overweight by a doctor. And I'm not hating on people of any weight, size, shape, and form. However, I'm a big believer in being healthy and making choices to be healthy. I think there's a lack of education on that. Yeah. I didn't know that eating fast food would make you gain weight. When I started getting my first job and making money, I was spending it all on junk food. All that to say, there is a way to get healthy. There is a way to feel better physically and mentally. And there is a way, if you feel a certain way about yourself, to make change. And it's not just in the gym, because they say 6-packs are made in the kitchen.
That's true. They say it's 90% diet. I think it was learning to count macros. It wasn't just a matter of, a calorie deficit. It was how much protein are you eating, and carbs, and the balance, and your body being able to, to burn and tone according to what you're consuming. I don't want to, get into that whole science.
But for people that don't know macros, it's essentially fat, protein, carbs.
Fat and the fat grams, the protein grams, and the carbohydrate count that you're eating for the day. And it varies for everybody, but I would really encourage folks to check out, like Grit and Hustle, because it's changed my life. And I mean, like, there's pictures, like Getty images, that I just hate of myself that I've tried to like take off the internet, but I'm finding myself going back and digging to try to find them so I can post them before and afters for him, because I think I'll swallow my pride for people to be able to be inspired by that. And I love to eat and I love to cook, but I think it's important for folks to to put good things in their body.
Yeah, and strike a balance.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yes,
too.
Brittany, my sister, she's always been like, I'm a twin. A lot of folks don't know that I'm a twin. And so, yes, and she was born, she wasn't born with double D's, but she's like, she has them naturally. You heifer, like perky boobs and, tiny and curvy and precious. And I had to buy mine. And anyway, but she's never had to eat healthy. And now, the older that we get, we're now in our 30s. And so it's like, oof. Skin's not as elastic as it used to be, and you can't win a chicken wing eating competition anymore without paying for it.
Yeah.
So
but
I want to inspire her.
So I feel
Same.
that. Really?
Same. So yeah, 89.
Oh, this is great. I think, and you might agree with me, but I'm curious.
Well,
do you feel grateful that your career is really starting to take off at this age? And I ask that because of the wisdom that you have versus the 22 or 23 or whatever version of yourself.
100%. I would not have been the Hannah that I was 5 years ago is not who I am today. And it took the rug being pulled out from underneath me and the humbling for me to really realize that I was here for a greater purpose than myself. And that country music was not the end-all, be-all, that, for me, it's my faith, had to be my first love. And then when I put that priority in place, I noticed other things starting to happen, and I feel like my relationships improved, my body improved, my music has improved, and I think I'm at 35, I'm a lot more prepared to handle the stresses and the blessings that will come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big believer that, because my faith's a huge part of my life, and I'm a huge believer that God has a plan. It says, like, in Scripture, a man plans his steps, but God guides his path.
That's right.
And we have all these plans. We have all these plans for ourselves. We're going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this by this time, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes life doesn't shake out that way.
No, the hardest part has been letting go of the reins.
It is.
That's the hardest part. But I've been told for years by friends, and I know, like, my path's not going to look like everybody else's. It's not. You know what I mean? There's we've got the cooking thing, and we've got the TV thing, and we've got the music. And the hard part has been navigating, okay, well, how do we just, keep music at the forefront? And now that I've kind of let go of the reins, that's happening naturally. And, everything's happening. I don't know. I've got a big cookbook coming out. I can't announce that yet, but thank you, Jesus. It just at the right time. And there's this big old advance that I wasn't expecting right when I needed it. And, the TV show. And it's like you don't have to have radio to be exposed to the public. There's other avenues like a television to put you out there.
100%.
So
I love that.
And they're still getting hannahdasher.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for people that are of faith to understand that the letting go of the reins is the best thing that you can do. And I didn't really learn that lesson until, I would say, this last year, really. But we had a good, hard 5 years in Nashville living here so far. But it's been the 5 years I've grown the most in my entire life is the last 5 years. And that's kind of like what I'm hearing you say. The hannahdasher 5 years ago is completely different.
Yeah, I was. I was cockier today. And, I wasn't, I didn't have it nearly as tough as I have had it since. We got to really figure stuff out. And so I'm so grateful. And also the team of people that I have around me, they're not there because of the hype. These, like the people that are with me, the ones that I've held on to, are the ones that they're there because they believe it. Like my pedal steel player has played for pennies, and I'm just now starting to, bump paint it, things like that. And I just, I get choked up when I think about that. Like my tour manager puts in 100 more hours than he gets paid for, and he wears more hats than he has to. But, and my assistant, my gosh, but those guys, and my agent, but they really believe in this, not just because they were told to like it, but because they get it 100%. And so now I'm not chasing the biggest and baddest manager or the biggest and baddest whatever. I'm just building a team of people that get it and believe in it and want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And that's been the biggest relief to me.
And it's beautiful that you have those people. And I understand why you have those people. And it is because you have an extreme gift. And I don't want to be redundant, but I need to pull out my phone and look at your songs really quick and tell you some of my favorites.
Do it. That's so sweet.
Okay. Because I was been listening. And it's the reason I had you on this podcast, by the way, because I saw something. I was like, and you'll experience this, you get a bunch of followers all the time, right? And do you ever see, you can buy a blue check mark now,
That's wild to me.
Oh, I know. But, not to be braggadocious, you probably had one before you could buy one. I had one. And now I just, sometimes I'll look at them, and it's all these people that are like cookie cutter, kind of down the middle. But when I came across your stuff, I was like, wow, this is someone that is very different, very, very different. And then listening to the songs, oh man, I need to go back to, I'm on the half record, so that was the first part you put out. Then the other damn half. All right, That Thing You Like, genius lyric.
Glenn Barble called me with that idea. He's like, hey, I got one we got to write. Like, what is it? He said, I'm the one that taught him that thing you like. I said, oh, hell yeah. But like Reva's had that one on hold, and there's been some other signed artists. Their teams have been hounding me for that song where I'm like, I really think I ought to cut that. If she doesn't cut it, I will. And anyway, and with I've got a big gay following too, and they love that. I'm the one that taught him that thing you like. They love it too, which I get a kick out of that. But yeah, I mean, it's. I thought about The Fool, Leanne Womack, and like that. I see that music video in my mind of just like a Leanne Womack sitting down at the bar talking to the other woman, and that's kind of where my head went when we started writing that song. And I just, I'm ballsy enough to confront the other woman in real life. It's believable to me. Let me talk to her. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but there's that, but yeah, there's a
but let me
variety.
Go back. So there's that one. Artists put thought into track selections and how it plays out. Just like in a live show, you put a lot of thought into what are we going to open with, what are we going to do in the first 10 minutes or whatever our slot is, what are we going to close with, and all that. People remember the first song the most, usually in a live show. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
Ugly Houses.
Simple.
Yeah. That was one where I was like, that's the Bluebird Cafe song right there, You need to listen to this title, Redneck Ass.
I'm a little awesome. Saturday night and Sunday morning. I love it. I wish that I could have afforded to really spend the time and money on the production, like to get these songs like I really wanted them to sound. I mean, I think they're great representations. But they're great. But when you come hear them live, they're a little greasier and a lot groovier than what you hear on the record. And
Good Old Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Walk me through the process of that and the writing and all of that.
Well, that was an idea that came to me. I don't remember where I was or what I was doing, but I'm always trying to think of ways to, I think if people don't know Jesus, it's because they see him as this untouchable, guy in that picture holding this lamb that's 2,000 years old, but I think, Jesus was the best at not being a chameleon, but, he could speak all languages. He mingled with tax collectors and hookers and rich people and, preachers and everybody. Like he was for everybody. He is for everybody, and I got to thinking like, God's a good old boy too. I mean, because I think about like my buddies that like to go sit in the deer stand, and that's where they connect with God, or they go wet a line, kind of a thing. Or my buddies from California that like to do yoga, like that's where they connect and all. But I was just thinking, God's a good old boy, and I hope he's got a good old boy for me. And so I wrote that with Dave Turnbull and Benji Davis, and we also wrote "Crying All the Way at the Bank" as well. So awesome. We've got a good little trio thing there,
which is a fun song, which is a great little spin-off on divorce and getting rich.
Yes. I mean, not that I would ever.
But it was so fun. It was such a kick. It's like, yeah, you go, girl. That's the feeling. I couldn't believe it
hadn't been done. I'm like, why hasn't there been a song? I couldn't believe there hadn't been a song yet as far as a take a man for all he's worth and celebrate that. And not that I would condone that, but I've seen it done. And anyway, it was just too obvious. And Benji and I were having a safety meeting at my house. You know what that is. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, and that one kind of like fell out of the sky, and I was like crying all the way to the bank. He said, brand new Chevy with premium gas in the tank. I was like, hell yes.
That's what I'm saying. Every single song on this 2023 EP is, or half record as we'll call it, they're singles. Like any one of them could go to country radio today, and I think it would debut up in the charts.
I appreciate that. I do too. It's just, but I've quit chasing the radio thing.
We don't care about that. Yeah.
No, I quit. And even the award shows don't mean shit to me anymore either, if I'm completely honest. It's like,
it doesn't.
It's all been tainted.
Yeah. It is. And, I think the best thing in life is when we let go, like you said. Letting go is the thing where when you stop caring, the stuff starts to happen. And I think there's something in the law of nature that, or Jesus is like, all right, you're surrendered now, you're ready now. And I like what you said about Jesus, because the religious people in the day and people that aren't religious, like if you have heard about Christians, you probably think of judgmental people. Would you agree?
We're the worst. Yes.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that Jesus hung out with all these, if you actually read about who he was, and he hung out with hookers and tax collectors and sinners. He said it's not the well that need a doctor, it's the sick that need a doctor, or whatever. Basically,
that's
was the
exactly
analogy.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you made the analogy of God being a good old boy. But on behalf of Christians everywhere, I just want to say, sorry if you felt judged by one, because that's not our job to do it.
I got half my family and speaking to me because of my reindeer shoot, my little Christmas shoot, and my which is covering up more than a bathing suit would. But I launched a little line last year, blazing and praising, and I really prayed about that before I did, because I'm like, I'm not here to reach the Christians. We're here to reach people that don't know God. Just to show that there's a, whether you believe or not, there is a better way, and it's real or whatever. And it's cool to be you, and it's cool to be a believer, and that
And you can
we
explore,
can relate to anybody.
And you can explore that Jesus guy and see for yourself who he is. You know?
I saw it as a bridge to kind of bridge the gap.
And I think that's very cool.
Well,
also, I said earlier, I wore my cowboy boots
Boy's got
today.
his initials on his boots.
Oh, you don't even know that. And on the back, it says Stephan.
It does.
And on the other one, it says Hogan. So
Who made those?
So it's Morris Boot Company, and it's in Fort Worth, Texas. And I was there, and they fit my foot, and I'm like kind of like a sponsored boot wearer, I guess you could say. But it's elephant. Sustainably.
You're so connected. Like, I'm just so impressed with it. You only been here for 5 years, and you're already, you're interviewing all like Stormy and Vince Gill, and you made time for me, for Pete's sake.
No, you're making
as
time
busy
for
as you
me.
are. I'm proud of you, man.
You're
I think
making
that's
time
great.
for me. Thank
you
you
for investing, the time that it takes to research and act, and to share your platform to shed light on, what I'm doing.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And thank you for being on, and thank you for being authentic, for your authenticity. And it's really cool that you are you, and that you are being you. And you're someone that is very likable and lovable and extremely talented and gifted. And you have to go listen to her music.
Thank you,
Hannah-Dasher.
Here's $100,000. Thank you for saying all that.
No, but spell your name right and tell everybody where they can go hear you, follow you, and all that.
Yeah. Well, I'm Hannah, Hannah, Dasher, like the reindeer. You can find me at Hannah Dasher on Instagram and the Face Space, and at Hannah Dan Dasher on TikTok. And Hannah Dasher on all the streaming platforms. Go get some honky-tonk rock and roll music now.
Thank you, Hannah, for being here. We had a lot of fun. And I got to ask you, as a listener, if you made it this far, that means you are a fan. I'm going to call you an official fan of the podcast, Creative Evolution. So, what fans do, they follow, they like, they share. And that's what I'm going to ask of you. So if you can, head on over to the YouTube. It's youtube.com/Stephan Hogan. And you can watch all of the podcasts on video there. I myself am getting into watching podcasts on video. I like it a lot more that way. You can kind of see, the expressions on people's faces, see what they look like, the whole thing. And then also on Apple Podcasts, if you can hit that 5-star, leave a review, it's going to help us greatly. You can also watch on Spotify and share it on your Instagram or your Facebook. It means the world, and this podcast is growing rapidly because of you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you back here next Monday.